clothes were picked, the words I was saying out of my mouth were someone else's or practiced multiple times, interviews plus in front of the camera. Things were just really controlled because here in Hollywood, that's what happens. And I will always be this way with Orlando. I think he is one of the funniest people I've ever worked with.
So fun.
I think even now, he knows exactly what he's doing. He, to me, is an unhinged Katt Williams.
Well, he's talking to code. No, I said I'm not giving my up. That's not a code. Ain't no code to that. Know and what I don't. I know what I know, and I know what I don't. I can't tell you about what I don't know.
Most people already decided what they thought about Diddy long before the FBI ever showed up. They've heard the freak-off stories, the rumors about hidden tapes, the whispered lists of male rappers who owed him favors. They watched Orlando Brown melt down on camera, joke about Diddy giving him the mash, and laughed it off as another pilled-out Disney kid spiraling. And then the arrest came. The lawsuits stacked up, and suddenly all those crazy interviews started to feel a little too specific. Now, add one more uncomfortable piece. Raven-Symone, the one person who knows Orlando from the inside of the machine, calling him the unhinged Katt Williams of his generation, and still admitting that some of what he says is real, that he's smart, and that he knows exactly how to call out the industry without getting caught. She's not defending Diddy. She's not defending Orlando either. She's doing something worse for Hollywood. She's telling you he's not just babbling. So if Orlando was the first one to joke that, you better say no to Diddy, because if there's new booty in the building, he wants you. And now prosecutors are describing the same man running multi-day freak-offs and coercing people into things they can't talk about on TV. You have to wonder, was Orlando really lying all this time? Or was he telling you, in the only language the industry ever lets its broken kids use, that Diddy forced him? Let's be real, if it was just Orlando screaming on random podcasts, the industry could have buried this years ago. The problem now is who's quietly standing behind him. The thing that really scares Hollywood about Orlando Brown isn't that he's wild, it's that he might be wild and right.
Be in my life forever. I also got into the industry knowing that people that I work with for years and years and years might be in my life forever. And I will always be this way with Orlando. I think he is one of the funniest people I've ever worked with.
So fun.
I think even now, he knows exactly what he's doing. He, to me, is an unhinged Katt Williams of his generation. Unhinged. Not you, Katt. You're hinged, and I love you for it. He's smart. He's smart.
So smart.
And I know Orlando's history, I know his life, I know some of his personal, and that's not my MO. Like, I am not that person, but he is, and that's why I've never really fully engaged, because I know my strengths, and my strengths aren't the quips that he has. It's not like, I wouldn't have never done bop, da, bop, bop. Like, that's not, that shit was hilarious to me. I was like, wow,
they
bro.
Put a beat on it.
Oh, it was
they
good.
They put a beat on it. And I was like, yo, drop it. They put a beat on it.
I'm not mad at him for it.
No.
I do think, though, that, you know, you're messing with the industry that raised you, bruh. You're calling out people that
He went deep.
He went deep with a lot of people.
But you're telling me that he's a wrestler? You know what that means? He's a troll. A wrestler is, you know, they call wrestling is real as a heart attack.
Yes.
But it's considered a work.
Oh, he's a wrestler.
It's a work.
I like that.
You like that? So
I think he's a wrestler.
But he started as a baby face. That's a good guy in wrestling. And now you're saying he's in his heel era?
I think he is. I think he's in his attack era.
But when he goes after the industry, do you co-sign it? Come on, you know it's not the best spot.
I know that's why I do not combat Orlando, because some of the things that he says, I'm not mad at him for.
No.
But when he comes for people listen, you have to know how to bait people in this industry, then say the truth, and then leave on a button. And I think he does that perfectly. He says some crazy shit. Then he tells the truth, and then he leaves on a button, and you don't know what just
And my brain is like going, what? I'm grabbing what's real, what's not. You know what I mean? So like,
he's doing the job right.
Amazing.
And I'm not mad at you, bro. Just keep my name out your mouth. And keep the people that you lying about out your mouth. That's all it is. And I'm not, do you? But some of the stuff you say is real.
Raven-Symone herself basically says that. Coming from someone who grew up on the same sets and in the same Disney machine, that's not a casual compliment. That's a quiet warning. Don't underestimate him just because he looks chaotic. Once you see Orlando through that lens, his interviews start to hit differently. He keeps insisting he doesn't speak in codes, that there is no cute metaphor or double talk for what he's describing, and he refuses to let anybody rewrite his story like he was in on the joke. He says he knows what he knows, and just as importantly, he knows what he doesn't know yet, or what he can't say, without stepping over a line that might get him hurt. That's not the mindset of a guy freestyling for clout. It's someone who understands there are real consequences attached to naming powerful people. For years, the industry and the blogs used that infamous Ushkash Umaf moment as Exhibit A that Orlando had completely lost it. He remembers being mocked, written off, turned into memes. But now that Diddy is facing federal charges, freak-off testimony, and detailed allegations of dulling coercion, and filmed marathons that sound a lot like what Orlando hinted at, the same clips don't feel so funny anymore. Orlando says straight up, people thought he was crazy, because it was easier to hide than to admit what was really going on. So when Raven, who knows both Orlando and the business, leans in, she's doing more than defending a co-star. She's silently lining up behind the one person everybody called insane and telling you maybe he wasn't the problem. Maybe he was just the first one willing to say out loud what Diddy and this industry really demand behind closed doors. If Raven is the quiet confirmation, Orlando is the one ripping the tape off the wound. Now that she's told you, the next step is to let Orlando explain how he's been playing this game and why the industry was so eager to label him crazy. He pushes back on that hard.
They want to play with themselves. Oh, well, he's talking to code. No, I said I'm not giving my ass. That's not a code. Ain't no that.
In that moment, Orlando makes it clear he doesn't speak in codes, and there is no cute way to dress up what he's talking about. There's no code for having your man card taken. No code for being pressured into things you never agreed to. He isn't trying to play with his masculinity or his reputation. He's telling you outright that whatever happened in those rooms with powerful men was not some wink-wink game he signed up for. Then he gets even more precise about how he handles the truth.
What I'm capable of. They want to play with themselves. Oh, well, he's talking to code. No, I said I'm not giving my ass. That's not a code. Ain't no code to that. I'm not bending on even no couches. Y'all up my asshole. Ain't no studio for me to go get ripped and be looking like somebody's funny. Get the fuck out of here, nigga.
He's drawing a line between the things he's willing to spell out, like the way Diddy allegedly operates with male artists, and the things he's seen enough to be afraid of, but can't fully expose without putting a target on his back. It's his way of telling you that if he leaves blanks in the story, it's not because nothing's there, it's because the cost of filling them in is too high. The next thing that makes people stop laughing at Orlando is when he starts talking about what came with being around Diddy and other powerful men, not as jokes, but as a pattern. Orlando says it straight. If you were close to Diddy back in the day, you were not some background extra. You were handpicked, and that access came with a price.
You're on the outside looking in, and you become a person that can be close to Puff. Man, you made it, is what you're thinking.
Okay.
You never thinking these problems is gonna happen, but when he pull his
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You better suck it.
So it's not just you better suck it. It's you better suck it.
Yeah. And hire some other dudes to suck it too.
Yeah. So it's like, and now I'm like, she was doing like, nah, man, you know what I'm saying? I can't vouch for that. I can say you was a good friend, you was a good family member, and I can say that you was definitely, a good uncle and all that. I don't know your parties and shit. The recent one I was invited to, and I just chose not to go.
He hints that to build that big homie relationship with Diddy, you had to give up more than studio time. He talks about sacrifices and favors and the way people suddenly leveled up in status after those off-camera nights. Now that prosecutors are describing freak-offs where people were pilled, used, and recorded, his warnings about what it took for male artists to be considered Diddy's guy sound a lot less like clout chasing and more like an insider finally snapping. Then he widens the lens. Orlando says before there were any other public victims, there was Orlando Brown.
Since 5, and before there was an Usher, there was an Orlando Brown. Before there was a Tiana Taylor, there was an Orlando Brown.
You're a legend. No denying that.
Before there was a Bow Wow, there was an Orlando Brown. Before there was a Sierra, there was an Orlando Brown.
He's not just saying his name for sympathy. He's claiming he was the original crash test dummy for this system. The kid star thrown into rooms with men his father sicked on him. The young actor who learned that, in this world, being around Diddy, Usher, or other heavyweights didn't just mean opportunity. It meant your body and your boundaries were on the table too. And when he starts listing names, Meek, Ross, Usher, calling them gushers and saying they've all shown their privates to Diddy, it sounds insane on the surface. But under that language is a very specific accusation that there's an unofficial stable of male favorites who did whatever it took to stay in rotation. Combine that with rumors of Craig Mack being destroyed and discarded, talk of Justin Bieber being conditioned to replace one victim with another, and suddenly Orlando doesn't look like an outlier. He looks like the first one who tried to blow the whistle on how Diddy moves with men and got turned into the joke so nobody else would dare back him up. By now, Orlando isn't just hinting that Diddy forced him. He's dragging an entire circle of men into the spotlight.
It made it seem as if perhaps Diddy and Meek Mill had.
I mean, to each their own. And why would they not have sex when they're gay rappers?
They.
Do you think Meek Mill's gay?
We all know he's gay.
Who's we?
Rick Ross knows he's gay.
I didn't know. It's news to me.
Everybody, Rick Ross knows.
You think Rick Ross would sign a gay rapper?
Rick Ross knows he's gay.
In one interview, he flat out says Meek Mill and Rick Ross are gay, and that both of them had intimate relationship with Diddy. He doesn't present it like gossip. He drops it as if he's tired of pretending nobody knows. For those who've already heard countless rumors about Diddy and his favorites, that line doesn't feel random. It feels like confirmation of what the internet's been whispering for years.
I said Usher is a gusher. That's what I said. I said Usher is a gusher. It was nice.
I don't even want to know why you say
His whole thing is accusing everybody of being on some mystery Illuminati gay shit, right?
So what? They shouldn't have showed me their cooches.
Crude, yeah. But underneath the language is a very specific allegation. Powerful male artists feminizing themselves intimately in front of Diddy to stay in his good graces and keep their careers untouched. It turns the idea of bros at the boss's party into something much darker and transactional.
Oh, wait. Give my nigga. You smashed him? You smashed him when it was girl?
I didn't smash anything.
So how you know
we
that?
made love. We made love. That's
Who
why-
you made love with?
Diddy, Bow Wow, Busta Rhymes.
When Orlando starts listing men, he says he made love with Diddy, Busta Rhymes, Drake, Terrence Howard, Usher, and then ties it back to his own father, sicking his baddest friends on him. The picture gets even more disturbing. He's not just accusing Diddy, he's describing an entire ecosystem where older, powerful men pass around a young boy as part of some twisted rite of passage. That lines up with the story he's been telling. Before any of these other victims, there was Orlando, and nobody wanted to hear it.
Gotta wake up and have your peace, man. Your piece of life. Your piece of peace. Your piece of thought. Your piece of mind. Wake up, come to it. Figure it out. They choose to do this evil act, is what I'm trying to tell you. They wake up and they do this every day.
But you know, so crazy, bro. They putting them symbols, all that shit in our face through movies,
Bro, I'm not
through
hearing
everything.
none of that because that's what I am like.
Yeah.
I'm just showing you not to
play into this
Yeah,
shit.
like
Yeah.
yeah.
Finally, he zooms out and puts a moral frame on all of it. Orlando claims they gotta wake up because these celebrities choose to do evil acts every day to maintain their status in the industry. He's not just saying they were forced once. He's saying, after a point, staying in Diddy's world becomes a daily decision to keep participating, to keep quiet, to keep feeding into the same machine that chewed him up. It's that Diddy sits at the center of a web of powerful men and broken boys, and Orlando, pilled out or not, messy or not, might be the only one reckless enough to name what everybody else is still trying to pretend never happened. There's one part of Orlando's story that even his harshest critics struggle to laugh at. The way he talks about Raven-Symone and what the industry did to both of them.
Yeah, that is deep. You know, she's been Judy for a long time. Since a kid, she's been being bro. You know, her mom, dad, nobody get her, bro. Nobody cares, bro. Nobody cares, bro. No,
Did you ever get into it with Chris?
her dad?
Yeah.
I never got into it with my dad.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Pops, bro. Like, I never got into it with Chris. Chris is Raven-Symone.
In that clip, Orlando alleges Raven was propositioned as a child and hints that the same people who controlled his life as a kid were doing the same to her. He's not just exposing Diddy here. He's tying Diddy's alleged habits into a bigger Hollywood culture where child stars are treated like inventory, moved around, traded, and offered up, depending on who's paying and who needs protection. Then you see him break down when he talks about not being able to see her anymore.
That's my friend, bro.
What are you talking about?
Raven. Miss her. Miss Annalisa. I miss her.
How long has it been since you guys have talked?
I don't even know. It shouldn't be like that.
You guys had a good friendship?
Man, stop. Somebody gotta do something before I do. Somebody gotta do something before I do. I don't know what's going on, but somebody better do something before I do. Something weird with that shit. I'm tired of talking about it. I don't know what's going on, but it's weird. Nigga, she right here. Everywhere I go, every time I cry, everything I do, every time I eat, every time I breathe, every time I hurt, every time I walk, every time I talk, everything I do, man, what the up? It's my friend. It's my friend. Try to take my friend from me. That's all I can say. They know what we do together. We make magic. We shake up the world. God, we shake up the world. And they trying to on.
That's not a man clout chasing. That's someone who believes both of them are too dangerous to the system when they're on the same side. He's implying that forces around them worked overtime to keep them apart. Because two former child stars comparing notes about the same men in the same circles might be more explosive than anything he could ever say alone. According to his own account, every time he tried to tell pieces of this story, about older men, about Diddy, about Raven, about what really happens to young boys and girls in that machine, he got hit with labels, threats, and near misses. When Raven later pops up and says, on her own platform, that he's smart, calculated, and that some of what he says is real, she's not just defending a friend, she's unintentionally confirming his worst fear. It's not that nobody believed him. It's that too many people in power thought him and did everything they could to make sure he'd be the last one to ever say it out loud. To really understand why Orlando keeps saying before any other victims there was Orlando Brown, you have to look at how he connects his story to Diddy's alleged trail of broken people.
You know, the next thing is, man, Craig Mack was the one that jumped Bad Boy off. And, you know, and it got so bad that Craig Mack, who died from AIDS, that man, he got brainwashed so bad from Diddy and got done so wrong. The man went to South Carolina and joined a cult with his family until he died of AIDS a few years ago.
Diddy supposedly gave Craig Mack AIDS, abandoned him, and left him so lost he ended up in a cult before he died. Whether or not that exact allegation can ever be proven, it fits a pattern Orlando and others keep pointing to. People get close to Diddy, something dark happens, their careers die, and eventually they do too, usually in confusion and isolation. Then there's the way Orlando and Jaguar talk about replacement victims. He's been saying for years that once one boy is used up or too damaged, the machine just finds another, a new singer, a new child star, a new face to smile next to Diddy in public while something very different happens in private. Diddy might be the face of the scandal, but Orlando's saying the engine behind him is bigger. A pipeline where boys like Craig Mack, Justin, and himself get fed in, used for as long as they're useful, and quietly erased when they become a problem. And if that's true, then Orlando calling his story the first one is an ego. It's a warning to everybody still lining up for their shot at the Love Diddy and this industry pretend to offer. This is where Orlando stops being the punchline and starts sounding like the blueprint for how Hollywood hides the truth in plain sight.
I feel like a lot of people understand that, you know, you just got to be careful with what you play with when you're playing with the intelligence of a certain individual. You know what I'm saying? You gotta make sure you be careful because normally where there's smoke, there's fire. Nobody's gonna keep on, you know, poking at the bear if there's nothing to poke at the bear with. You know, and back then I was poking at the bear, bro. Like I was poking at the bear. Nobody was you know, caring, and you know, everybody thought, oh, well, just stop posting and all this, you know, and now it's starting to make sense because it's not about hiding anymore, and a lot of people have been hiding.
Orlando looks back at the Ushkash Umaf era and says people only thought he was crazy because it was easier than accepting what he was really saying. Back then, he was poking at the bear while everyone laughed, scrolled, and moved on. Now that Diddy is locked up and those freak-off stories are being laid out in court, he says it finally makes sense to people. And it's not about hiding anymore. The same interviews that got him labeled insane are being replayed as early warnings. So how did he get that far without being silenced? He tells you.
Oh, it's levels to this shit,
levels.
Bro.
It's
yeah,
levels.
It's definitely levels to this shit. So if you want me to act high, I'll act high. If you want me to act drunk, I'll be drunk. If you want me to say some Raven shit, I'll say some Raven shit. You know, it's now we're watching these interviews, and like I've said before, it's at a 1 hour and a half, and we're not turning this into a movie. Who needs to be fired? Who needs to be fired? We're watching these interviews at 100, like at 100 plus minutes, is what I'm saying to you. And who needs to be fucking fired for allowing me to keep sitting on? I mean, no disrespect, but allowing me to keep on, you know, loosening up the world mentally.
Orlando explains there are levels to how much truth each platform will allow. If the platform wants him to be high, he'll play high. If they want him drunk, he'll act drunk. If they cut him a real check and want him serious, he can switch into that gear too. He's not admitting to being fake. He's admitting he used their expectations as camouflage. The crazy Disney kid mask bought him time in the chair. And while they thought they were getting viral content, he was sliding in real names and real situations, but he also makes it clear that there was a cost every single time he did it. He says he gave people exactly what they wanted to see, and after almost every big interview, there was some kind of attempt on his life or aggressive move to shut him down. He doesn't go into full detail about who, what, or how. He just says he had to maneuver it over and over again. That one line ties everything together. The theatrics weren't just for clout, they were a survival tactic. The louder and messier he looked on the surface, the easier it was for the higher-ups to dismiss him publicly, while privately making sure he never went too far. There's one more layer to this that makes Orlando's story even harder to shrug off. Other people have been calling his act a survival strategy for years, even before Diddy's world started crashing down.
Why wouldn't it work for Whitney?
To play crazy.
Why wouldn't it work?
Hey,
No. Hey.
The oosh gas whoosh wash. Orlando's brilliant.
Right. Yeah.
Y'all spent time with him.
We did.
He's highly intelligent.
Yes.
Imagine what it's been like to wear this character for this long.
No. I can only...
That he does is a character. Actually, the shit he does online is the best acting he does.
Is he speaking truth?
Of course he is.
Jaguar right flat out says Orlando is playing a character to keep himself safe from anything sinister coming from Diddy. In her words, he leans into the wild, unhinged persona on purpose, because if he ever sat down, stone cold sober, and laid everything out plainly, the response from the powers that be would be very different. That matches exactly what Orlando's been saying about levels and platforms. He performs crazy so he can tell the truth and still walk out of the building. The same pattern shows up when Jaguar talks about Justin Bieber and Usher.
Because I think if a victim comes out against Usher, it'll show how egregious this shit is. Because if he can be a predator, then anybody can be a predator.
Can't smile in your face the whole time.
You feel what I'm saying? Like, people look at Usher, they don't see that. They not seeing the victim. They not seeing that boy that got rushed to the hospital. They not seeing what the intentions was in his heart when he took Justin Bieber there. Let's be honest. He took Justin Bieber there. Diddy had been trying to get to Bieber for a minute. And his management was backing him off. But it wasn't until Usher took over management and had guardianship and gave temporary guardianship to the Diddy for 48 hours. Think about that. He had already been to the hospital. That situation that Gene was talking about. And you still took Bieber there. But you got custody of him first. Diddy had already tried. They wouldn't let him. Actually, someone made reference to the fact that Diddy trying to get at Bieber the way he was trying to get at Bieber was looking a little predatory. And then Usher came in and discovered it and managed him and got custody of him and promised to look after him. And then he sent him to the diddler. Does that sound like a good guy? Does that sound like a good guy? Now that we know what Diddy's really like. What kind of asshole do you gotta be to take another boy, another talented boy, and put him in your place so it ain't gotta be you no more? Because that's what do. They get victims, and then once they get to a certain age and they get too old for them to enjoy them, they send them out to go get other young kids.
She claims Usher didn't just survive Diddy. He allegedly passed the role of favorite on to Justin, making him the next Diddy victim to take his place. That's the same conveyor belt logic Orlando has been describing. Young boys swapped in and out, one golden child replacing another, while the machine keeps moving and the public claps for new hits and tours. It suggests Orlando's story isn't isolated. It's one example in a longer chain of boys funneled through the same man. And Orlando makes it clear this isn't just about Diddy.
What Kevin Hart did in order to be where he's at. Now, I don't know if it was Kevin that pissed him off. I don't know who it was that pissed him off. But I do understand that the comedy world is nothing to play with. And since, Richard Pryor left us, God rest his soul, it's more like, everybody's trying to be Richard Pryor, and I can't put myself in position to not understand why some people just don't have the kind of respect for Katt that they should have. Kevin been pissing off a lot of people, comedically, you know what I'm saying? And I think that instead of trying to bash somebody that knows what they're talking about, and bash somebody that has respect in the comedy world, I think that they need to look deeper into why is he letting this information go? Why is this information just now being released? Why, come on, why does his chain look bigger than any rapper's that I've ever seen rap. Why, out of all the comedians, does he still have a $3 million mansion in Malibu? Why, out of every single comedian, does he still get picked on, but still looks like he's getting a check for nothing, just to sit on his couch, and everybody else look like, you know, they're has-beens?
When he says Kevin Hart did serious-ish to get where he is, and that Katt Williams was right about him, he's dragging the whole system into the conversation. The implication is blunt. Diddy is not the only one who benefits from these quiet rituals. Some people play along, cash out, and now live in fear that their old choices will resurface. Others, like Orlando, refuse and get labeled crazy, broke, or finished. So if Raven, Jaguar, Katt, the lawsuits, and the federal indictments are all circling the same man Orlando's been yelling about for years, how much longer can anyone pretend this is just coincidence? At what point do we stop laughing at the broken Disney kid and start asking who broke him? If Orlando really is the unhinged Katt Williams of his generation, what does it say about Hollywood that the only people telling the truth about Diddy are the ones it labels crazy? And now that Diddy's world is finally cracking in public, are you ready to believe Orlando was forced into this game? Or are you still more comfortable believing the billionaire who built it? If you like this video, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss out on any new videos. And until then, fam, keep it real.